Hey YouTube, this is Rishika. This would be my 36th video tutorial on data stage. In my previous video tutorials, I pretty much covered the transformer stage. I made like 11 different parts of the transformer stage. For whoever is listening just this video, please check out the transformer stage in detail. I made like 11 different parts. So 11th part, whichever you see, is the last one on the transformer stage. Okay, so this would be like a series of videos other than transformer. Okay, because I have been explaining a lot about the stages, I thought I'd explain little theory about the containers from this video. I mean, in this video, not from this. It's just like simple concepts. So in this video, I'll explain the containers concept, both local containers and shared containers. Okay, so please don't mind this complex design. There is nothing in it. I just designed just before the video because I want to show what's the use of the containers in data stage actually. Okay, so let's get into the video, actual video, and know what are the containers and how many types of containers and what's the use of the containers. Okay, so basically the containers, what they do is, if you see here, this, please follow my cursor as I say in every video. If you see here, this like this complex design, it's not complex enough, but let's for our purpose, let's call it a complex design. It's nowhere near to complex, trust me, in real time. Okay, so but for our purpose, let's say it's complex. Okay, so let's say you're trying to do something, or let's say you're trying to explain it to a layman or sometimes to a client, okay, who doesn't have knowledge about the data stage. So if you design like, let's say we have like two or more on this continuation. Okay, so what happens is, when you have like all this complex design as of now, what happens is, when you show this design to client doesn't understand because he has no data stage knowledge, right? He just wants to know, I mean, let's say a scenario where the client wants to know how exactly, I mean, how effectively you design the job. Okay, so that's a case. So what happens is, sometimes your project managers ask for ask for like giving a little presentation or having a little talk with the client, showing exactly what you did in the job. It doesn't happen always, but sometimes it does. Okay, so then if you if you just put the transformer and the filter, and you explain it to the client, like, I put a transformer and I put all the transformations and then I perform lookup, it makes sense. Lookup, filter, all this data set stage, all this makes sense for the person who has data stage knowledge, right? But who if you're explaining to the a client who doesn't have a data stage knowledge, let's call him a layman. Okay, he doesn't he feels something wrong, or he feels complicated, right? So for that reason, for making the job design to look simpler and make your job easy, you can construct a container of your own. Okay, so basically containers make the contents of the what do I say, like, job of the data stage design simple. Okay, and you can have like, you what happens in containers, it's not just the stages, but the links associated with are also included in the container. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So instead of all these stages, if you make a container, so what gonna happen is, instead of like, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 stages, it's gonna be only one simple stage, and that stage will be the container. Okay, but that container, when you try to open that container, that container has this input log, I mean inner logic. Okay, so what happens in that container is, transformer, lookup, sequential data stage, filter, all this happens in that container. That the logic all is what is embedded in the container. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't change anything, except that we are trying to make our job or the design to look simpler. Okay, and there are two types of that's a basic use. So there are two types of containers in it. One is the local container and the other is shared container. It's pretty simple, right? The word says it all, right? As I say in every video, just focus on the words. Even if you don't know something, but if you focus a little on the word and the sentence, I'd say you can get it like almost halfway through it. Okay, so yeah, local containers, it's just local to that job, and shared containers, obviously it's reusable containers, so you can use it any job in that specific project. Okay, so yeah, it's analyzer project, right? So I can use the shared containers only in this project. I can't switch this shared containers to another project. That's another important thing about the shared containers. Okay, so yeah, let's know how to build a local I mean, how to construct a local container and what exactly does we have and all that. Okay, so basically the same thing again, local containers or whatever containers usually make it easier to understand what's happening in the job. Okay, and as I said, local means specific to that job, right? So once a local container is created within a job, that container is only accessible by that specific job. Okay, and yeah, the container can be created, it doesn't matter which palette, I mean which what do I say, which canvas you're using. Either it can be like parallel or server. You can have it in both the jobs, server or parallel jobs. Okay, so what happens is okay, let's say we want to move this, right, in example. So I'm just like dragging, dragging, right? Yeah, being dealing with computer all these days, yeah, you should know dragging. So just drag onto the specific stages what you're feeling like diverting the client or diverting the person instead of focusing on what's happening. So yeah, so these are the pretty much things I don't like them to be individually, so instead I want to make them one thing, right? So I can just go to edit. There are many ways of create, I mean not many, there are probably like three different ways of creating container, but yeah, let me just show you probably one or two. Okay, it's important to know how that is created. It doesn't matter which way you create, right? So yeah, so construct container, so go to the edit option and go construct container. So when you click on, when you just place your cursor on construct container, it says local or shared, right? So it's asking whether you want to create a local container or a shared container. So choose it here itself, I mean it doesn't matter, you can convert it later too. So for now, for this example, let's make it local. Okay, so it's asking are you sure you want to make construct a container? So I'm saying yes, I'm sure, you go ahead. Okay, so that's one I said. So now what happened is, see here, everything, all those stages and all that all that mess, I would say, that is just replaced with small box, right? So box in the sense container, right? So this is where all those stages and links and everything is like stored. It's not stored, but like yeah, yeah, embedded, not embedded, stored is right. Yeah, those are just stored in that container. Those stages are just replaced by one simple thing which is called container. But it doesn't mean that container, putting a container has lost everything. It doesn't mean that. When you double click on containers, see, okay, let me just put it this way. See, if you double click on the container, this is the logic inside the container, or this is the thing which you want to hide it from the client, right, or the person, right? So yeah, input, we can rename, move or delete containers just as same, like you can rename file and jobs, delete jobs and move jobs, right? So the same way, you can rename, move and delete the containers. And yeah, you can edit the stages and links. You can edit the stages and links. See, rename, so you can edit the stages and links. Okay, so it doesn't change that. So you might be wondering, what is this input and output boxes? Okay, so these input and output boxes are basically the input and output stages are automatically added when you construct a container, any container, it doesn't matter local or shared, but whenever you create a basic container, the input and output stages are automatically added. So the link between the input and the output stage has the same link in the main job. See, this is ds link 2, right? So if you see here, see, this is ds link 2. So this container is now thinking this as input, right? So this is the only input, right? So this link will be the input container, the link from the input. Okay, and everything will be same again. And output, see what is the output. We don't have we have output two different things, right? So output, what is this, ds-link 8 and ds-link 10. If you notice here, this is normal regular link and this is a reject link, right? So yeah, ds-link 8 and ds-link 10. So see here, see ds-link 8 and ds-link 10, right? So the input and output links will be same, will be same as the main job. Okay, so even if you rename here, let's rename here some HHH. Okay, so and once you go here, let me just click on that now. Okay, it's not renaming, I guess, but it should rename. I don't know what's happening. Okay, let me just skip that part. Okay, doesn't matter, but yeah, you need to understand that this link, the input and output links will be the same links for the container. Okay, that's another thing. And let's say if you create a new container, okay, let's say you want to add more stages to the container. So what happens is, let's say you want to add more containers, so just put it. So now, okay, let's close it now. Okay, no. Okay, now let's see here. See, this is the I mean, we can add or delete the stages in the container itself. Okay, it doesn't matter, you can add or delete the stages, but remember that adding or deleting the stages in the container gonna affect your job design, right? So if you just add a sequential file and you don't have anything, it's not fun to do just adding and deleting, right? You need to have some logic. So remember, whatever you're doing in here, it's ultimately affecting the output, because everything is being done here, which is like, which we can't see the stages, but the logic is still effective, right? So yeah, that's another what do I say, that's another important thing. Okay, and yeah, we can have like any number of links that can be into and output. We can have like n number of, I believe it's n number, but yeah, we can have like multiple number of input links and output links for a container. Okay, and once a connection is made, whatever, let's say we have built a container. Okay, and now if we go to here and change, there will be nothing here because this is just a dummy job. Okay, and if we change the metadata here, you must remember that that gonna affect the job, because whatever metadata is being changed, that affects your job, right? Because the container is affected, so that gonna be connected with the next stages in this actual job design, right? Yeah, and yeah, you need not wonder. Let's say you have constructed a container, but while okay, you're done with the presentation or you are done with the talk with the client and everything is done. So now probably project manager or someone, like let's say client, have asked you to do something else with the same job. Okay, add something else or delete something else, add something, okay, with the same job. So if you are trying to do, and it doesn't really make sense for developers, right? Because every time we need to click here and change input and all those things, right? So that way, so that's when we can deconstruct the container. So deconstructing means, if you no longer want the container, so just deconstruct it. So if you just right click on this, see here it says deconstruct, right? So just deconstruct it. So it's asking, are you sure you want to construct a container? Container. Okay, and the other option is, you what did we create? Local, right? Yeah, there are two different containers, local and shared. So the local is this one, and the shared has different icon. It's the same box like, but it has like different little graphical icon of its own, so you can easily identify which one is a local container and which one is a shared container. Okay, so once you create container, okay, that's one. So if let's say, yeah, as I said, if you no longer wish to have container for itself, just deconstruct container. But let's say you got a requirement to use the same logic in multiple jobs. Okay, so if the same logic is being used in multiple jobs, except that the metadata is different or something. Okay, I mean, not metadata, yeah, let's do same data. So what happens is, even though it's the same data, we can't use this container in our next job, right? Let's say we're going to design another job, but we can't use the same container because it's local container and it is specific to this specific job, right? So that's when the other container comes into action. So just so now if I'm right, we need to have a shared container to use it in the next job, whatever job in this project, right? So just right click again, and below the deconstruct option there is convert to shared, right? So when you just convert click to convert to share, it gonna ask, okay? So just yeah, it gonna now ask us to save. So let's save this shared, okay, shared something, okay? So let's save it. Okay, it's taking little time. Okay, see now. So now what happened, the icon has changed, right? It was simple box, but now it's still the same box, but it's sometimes it's showing like a shade icon, right? It's, I believe, something globe like, so it's like globalized, I guess, within the project or something. Okay, anyway, we are least bothered about the icon. But you can easily differentiate between the local container and the shade container. That's the important thing. Okay, and it's the same, and let's say you are done with this and you don't want to what do I say, okay, yeah, let's say you can double click on it or you can right click and see all the properties related to that. Okay, so you can open it, still the same logic, right? Because it's just the same logic. Okay, and what next is, so yeah, and now you can close it here. So just close it and see, still it's the same thing. Okay, so this is how you're gonna have the shade container. Okay, so that's pretty much about converting local container to shade container. It's nothing more logical. Just you need to understand when to use what. Okay, that's it. So because we are done with the explanation of the local container, it's pretty simple, guys. I mean, there might be more logics in it, but for our purpose, I mean, because I have been making videos, a series of videos for the beginners, so I just want them to learn, or at least know, not even learn, at least know what is what. That's it. I don't want to really get into details unless and until I complete all the data stage concepts. Okay, once I'm done with all the concepts, then I gonna get into detail videos. I gonna make detailed videos on each of that again. Okay, so yeah, there are probably a list, I guess. Okay, so anyways, yeah, coming to the shared containers, that's whatever I have said about the local containers, that's good enough for the beginners. Okay, so coming to the shared containers, it's still the same thing. Simplifies the design, but the important difference, or the importance of the shade container, is they are reusable by other jobs in this project. Okay, so yeah, you can use this shade container in other jobs in the same project. Okay, so because we shade it here, right? Okay, for some reason what happens is sometimes it gets froze. Okay, that's okay. I'll refresh it. Okay, so yeah, you can use it in any other job. I'll show you how to use it too. So okay, and the other thing is, yeah, to construct a container, see here, while I have been telling probably in the first or second video, I have showed this step, and I told you that I'll explain this container part later. So that later is now. Okay, so yeah, you might be wondering why is this container icon here, in a way, like when we can construct, construct the containers by editing edit menu and all that. Why is this option here? If you choose this option, what happens is, it's just like another stage. So what happens is, okay, okay, so what happens is, it's just like another stage. So when you click on this, there will be nothing, but once you have input and output tabs, you can have your own any number of stages, or whatever the logic is here, you can do it here. Instead of putting the stages and then making a container, you can actually make a container and then click on the container and make and design your job based on whatever the requirement is. Okay, so this is an other way, like it's the other way around. Okay, so it's pretty much same, the logic is same, unless that instead of making it first, you're making it instead of making it last, you're just making it first. Okay, that's it. Okay, so if let's say when is this shared containers useful? Okay, let's just delete this because we are done with this. It creates confusion. Let's delete this. Okay. Okay, so when are these shade containers useful means, because they are shade, right? So if there is some common design or common stages to be dealt with, or common logic to be dealt with in a project, so that's when these shade containers comes into action. Okay, so yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, one other thing is shade containers, because they can be shared, they need to be stored, right? Unless and until you don't store them, they can't be shared, right? So yeah, shared containers can be stored in the repository, but local containers, they can't be stored in the repository, because it's waste of uh, time and waste of thing, right? Because that is only specific to that specific job, it doesn't really make sense to save that, right? Because it's already saved in that job. Once you run, it's already saved in the job, right? So yeah, that's it. So shared containers are stored in the repository. And how you can convert like the shared container to local. So let's say you're done in the project, and you are sure that you no longer require the same logic to be used. So but yeah, so on all these things. So what happens is, you can convert it to local whenever you want. You can switch back to like shared or local whenever you want. Okay, doesn't really matter. And you can rename, and you can do all, you can have like where is the data coming from, and where is it like going to, and all those things. Okay, so it's just pretty much the same as the stages, except that the containers, like multiple stages are put together. That's it. Okay, so yeah, and yeah, remember one thing, whenever like the logic is changed with the container, maybe local container or shared container, it's it always changes the job design, right? Job design or the job logic. And the other interesting thing about the shared container is, let's say you have used a local container, and you change the job design, or you change the some logic, transformation logic in that container. Okay, so what happens is, when you use the container to run, it only changes that specific job, right? But when you use shared container, let's say for like three jobs, and you change the design or the transformation logic in one job using the contain I mean in the container in one job, it's gonna change the logic in every other job too, because it's the same container used in other job too, right? So how it gonna it doesn't understand, it understands that, okay, the okay, she's trying to change the container. Actually, she's not trying to change the job, but she's trying to change the container. So the container is the common thing between all the jobs, right? So that's the reason it just changes all the logic. If there is no if there is no good if there is no let's say uh, good logic, or if there is no continuation of the logic in other jobs, yeah, the job just aborts. Okay, so that's the reason. Other interesting thing, so you should be a little careful about the shared container and changing the logics within the container. So another interesting and other important thing about shared containers is, uh, I said, what did I say about the metadata, right? If you change the metadata, or if you change something in the shared content, let's say metadata, if you change the metadata, you're gonna have the problems with other things, right? So for that reason, if you remember an option, runtime column propagation, right? So RCP. So if you choose runtime, if you enable runtime column propagation, you need not really worry about metadata, but that's in parallel jobs, I guess, right? Because runtime column propagation gonna be in parallel jobs. So yeah, that's an other good option to choose, but it's not as I have said in my previous videos. I don't really remember which video is that, but yeah, in my early videos, probably some videos on I'm not sure. Okay, it's been like 36 videos, so I can't remember. I'm sorry. So yeah, so you can use a RCP option. It's a good thing to do, but it's not always good because that leads to performance issues again, right? So another thing is, let's say I did say that there are server containers and parallel containers, right? So you might be wondering if we can use like server containers in parallel and parallel containers in server, right? So yeah, yeah. I mean, the other thing is which like pretty much I was amazed is containers. They do have like what do I say, inbuilt parallel thing running in them. So if you choose a server container to run in parallel, it does not run parallel, but however, because you're trying to use the server container in parallel, each stage is divided into multiple instances, right? So the container itself runs in multiple instances, but it doesn't run in parallel mode. The content, whatever the stages are stages in here, those doesn't run in parallel. Those still run in the sequentially, but the container runs in multiple instances. That's it. Okay, so that's an other thing. So yep, that's pretty much about this. So now, okay, let me show you how to use the shade containers in another job. Okay, let me just create another job. Okay, and let me just have like some database. I don't, it doesn't matter because it's just the job. So and this, and now I do want to have shade containers. So okay, it's not showing up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm trying to refresh it, but for some reason it doesn't show up. So okay, let me just close this and then repository, sorry, view repository, and still it doesn't show up. Okay, let me just close and restart my system. Okay, so it looks good now. So database, whatever that is, and now I want to put some container. Okay, so what did the container, so just drag and drop. Okay, sorry, click on this and just drag and drop the container. That's it. It doesn't bother, it doesn't matter, but just drag and drop the container. Okay, that's it. And you can write it to whatever, I mean, you can still have like any number of things happening here. You can have any number of output links and do whatever logic logic we can have after the container stages. Okay, so let's just put data set stage. Okay, so this is what, so this is how I can use shade containers in another jobs in the same project. Okay, so if you just open it, see, it's still the same thing happening, right? So yeah, this is how you can use reuse the shade containers in the same project. That's it. So yep, that's pretty much about the containers, local and shade containers. I hope it's not that much of a rocket science. So I hope you got it. And thank you guys, thank you so much for watching my videos and appreciating me from timely basis. And I'm really thank you so much. And in my next video, I didn't really decide what I'm gonna do in my next video, I'm sorry. But I will try to do something from the, let me just try to do something from the processing stages. Let me complete the processing stages. I guess I'll deal with the processing stages and then go to development or debug, or I can okay, let me do one thing. Let me just go with the development and then processing or something. Okay, I'll figure out something later. I don't want to waste your time thinking about my thinking. I'll I'll figure out something and come up with another new video in pretty short time. And thank you guys, thank you so much for watching.